the Kachakhtanga and the stormwater. So Kachakhtanga, they care about the environment and they try to use some traditional ideas and try to implement it in the modern world. So the stormwater would be a good way to do this, because a lot of the ways that we use to manage the stormwater use like trees, and we can implement a lot of ways that I'm going to show after how we can control the stormwater. So I'm just going to introduce a little bit where the stormwater can come from. So I just put here a little bit illustration. So the first thing, the stormwater can come from about the precipitation or the melting, the snow melting. So if, as you can see here, the water precipitates. They can goes as runoff and then goes into rivers, streamers, and another water body, or it can goes into the ground, it can infiltrate, and then the water that is on the surface can evaporate and then condensate again and precipitate. So we have a circle here. So, but if you're not managing the stormwater very well, if you have a bad management of water, this rain, we can have some issues from this. And I'm going to present 3 issues that we can have from this. So one of them is the erosion, and then this issue mainly comes from the runoff, which has a increased velocity, and this can cause erosion. So this erosion can be in a street, as you can see here, and also around lakes, rivers, and streams, as I put the example here. And we also can have floods. So it's because the water cannot infiltrate into the soil, so the water does not have a place to go to, so it's kept trapped on the surface, and it does not have a place to go. So we have the floods. And another one is the contamination, that I think that's the one of the most important ones that we need to talk about, because it does not affect only ourselves, but also the animal life that does not have nothing about this, but we are affecting them. So when you are dropping something on the ground, it does not dispose the waste correctly, you are affecting the environment. So all the waste that's not disposed correctly, that's on the floor, when it rains, the runoff drags it to the rivers and streams, and it contaminates the water body. So what causes it? So the main cause for this is the impermeability of the soil. So as you can see here with 2 figures. So the first one is about the city, and the second one is about forests. So the first one, as you can see, is an average 55% of all the storm water becomes runoff, and just 15% of the storm water can infiltrate into the soil. So it's around 10% shallow infiltration and 5% deep infiltration, and around 30% evaporates. So if you come here and see about the forest situation, as you can see, just 10% of the storm water becomes runoff, and around 50% of the water becomes into the ground. It can infiltrate because it does not have anything to avoid it. So, and around 40% evaporates. And here I put some illustration just to illustrate how the runoff is in the real world. So this is how it cannot infiltrate into the soil. So that's an example. So another cause is the pollution. If you do not dispose the waste correctly, it can clog the sewers, as you can see here, and then it decreases the amount of water that can infiltrate into the soil and increases the amount of water that becomes runoff. So we have more runoff and less water that can be infiltrated, and it can also contaminate the water bodies nearby the city. So I'm going to introduce some solutions for this stormwater problem. So one of the solutions that I brought here is the rainwater tanks. So this is basically you are collecting the water that falls on your roof, and then you collect this water and pump it into tanks of water, and then it can be filtrated, and then you can use this on the site. It can be a house, it can be a school, it can be anywhere. You can use this water from the storm water. So this is just an example how you can implement this. So it can be implemented on the ground or else on the side of the house. So this is two photos that is an example of how we can implement this. So another one is the material that we use to build the things. Like if you build the ground, the cities with something that's permeable, that allows the water to go into and pass through the material, it can go into the soil and infiltrate. Then you increase the infiltration and you have less runoff. So this is a kind of material, as you can see here, the water's going through the material. And then another one would be like blocks of rocks, for example, and then you surround it, you have grass or soil, then the water can infiltrate into this and also increase the infiltration. Another one that I would say that my favorite one is you introduce some floor beds around the city. Then you can let the city, I would say, more beautiful, because you have more green, more environment around the city, and you also can help the environment because you are increasing the infiltration that you have around the city. So here is an example how we can introduce this to our cities. So we have 2 floor beds here, 2 trees here, and this is an example of how it is in the real world.
What does the thing along the bottom say?
I sent my one, but it's not the final one.
Oh, you
Okay.
see.
Well, then you can just say it.
Okay. So now I'm going to just do an overview about this. So what we have seen today, we have seen that Katiakatanga is it means guardianship that aims to protect the environment. And then we have seen a relationship between Katiakatanga and stormwater, that they try to protect the environment, and stormwater is a really good way to do this. We need to manage it to decrease the amount of pollution and a lot of things that we do. And then what I would say as a recommendation, I would say that we need to try to implement this and try to do awareness with the people, to talk to them that they do not dispose their waste incorrectly. They need to dispose it correctly because it will affect the environment. And then we need to try to implement more the things here as the bioretention devices, as the materials that can infiltrate, that allows the infiltration, and this is stuff that I have presented here. So thank you everyone. This is my presentation, and have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, any more questions?
Oh, that was really good. I love how you showed the relationship between Katiakatanga and Inuatapa, stormwater. Very well done. But I just wanted to ask you, how do you see your role as a Katiakatanga in the context of your presentation?
I think that everyone needs to do something. If everyone does something that it's not like if you just me do something, it's not going to work really well. But we need to talk to other people to let them know that we need to do something to change this. So I think that I need to do my part. Like I do not drop the thing on the ground, or I recycle the recycled things. I think that's my part as a Katiakatanga. Yeah.
So your future career, do you think you'll have an opportunity to use these concepts?
I think so. I think it's a really important topic, the stormwater, when it's related to civil engineering. That's my goal. I want to be a civil engineer. So I think that's a really good way to see, because it's implemented in the city. We can also implement it in the houses. So yeah, I think that's a good topic that I will use in the future.
Well done.
Well done, Gabrielle. Thank you for that.